All right, we are live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Pack.
Cheer for passengers.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. It's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it?
The candles will light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Green Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
I almost forgot to turn my mic on. Can I hear myself? Oh, yeah. That's excellence for you. We're back again.
So we're gonna get our Webby.
Yeah. Our Webby Award for Podcast Excellence. We should get one for podcast consistency. You guys have been doing this almost a decade, and you've had the same 7 listeners that whole time. And 2 of those listeners are you downloading your own program, and then our friends in China doing whatever the Chinese do.
Keeping the what's the people? Is that the proletariat or is that the upper class is the proletariat?
No, the lower class is the
Proles.
proletariat.
Okay.
Yeah, the inner party members are keeping the proles in line,
Yeah. Okay.
advising them with our smoky American voices.
All right.
Well, let's start off the program with everyone's favorite part, model talk.
Cindy Crawford.
Yes. Girl, that dress ain't working for you. Do a whole our woman's Venus, Wendy Williams. We could do a whole Wendy Williams talk about, just like shake our heads back and forth and talk gossip on national television. Just a bunch of middle-aged housewives like, yes, tell me more. I need my friends. No, but this is, I finished the model.
Oh, okay.
I'll do that.
Somewhat.
Somewhat. There we go.
Oh, the artifact needs to do a real number on the camera.
Oh yeah, see that little block, that dark block down there? That's the yeah. I have.
Well, I can read that, but like the white was like shifting around like it was an egg or something.
Behold. No, this is a very simple, fun model. I think I talked about this last week.
Yeah, that might have been off air. I can't remember. That's the
That's basically the model from Forbidden Planet, repurposed as the U.S. Air Force Space Probe 1 in one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, The Invaders, which is the one where the flying saucer lands on the roof and this little space creatures are, well, guys in suits, you find out later, tormenting this woman. There's no spoken dialogue in it until the end. At the very end, the guys, because basically they run around and shoot at this woman. These little tiny guys, they're about, I don't know, just tall. And throughout the whole program, you're rooting for this old lady. It's like, why are they shooting lasers at this old woman and torturing her? And she's just, much bigger than them. So she hits one with I don't know, she catches it. And because they stab her with knives too, like full-size knives that they get access to. But she catches one and like wraps it up in a towel and just smashes it on the floor and puts it in the box and throws it in the fire. And then she finally just is like, fuck it. She goes up to the roof with a hatchet and smashes the little flying saucer. And because the guy's inside it. And then at the very end, you hear this voice saying, this is so-and-so, Colonel whatever from, Space Expedition. It's a race of giants on this planet. We can't hope to beat them. Don't come here. Don't come here. And at the very end, after she smashes the flying saucer, the camera zooms in. It says, U.S. Air Force Space Probe number 1. So you find out, like, oh, the evil people were the fucking the guys that were, well, they weren't evil, they were probably freaked out. But this weird space creatures that were torturing this old woman were actually American.
It was us.
It was us, yeah. The Air Force as a space exploration arm. So yeah, that was. It's just such a weird, creepy episode. Though, the way, 'cause it sounds silly, and we're not talking about high-grade special effects here.
Yeah.
It's 1960s television, early 60s, but it is creepy in a way, because if you could imagine these little things running around, and they'd fire their phasers or whatever at her, and it'd just make little blisters appear on her skin. It's like, it would hurt her, but it wouldn't like kill her. And then when the one starts, like, she reaches for the door, and this knife comes through and slashes her hand. It's like, getting vicious. Like I said, you're rooting for the woman all the way through, and then you find out at the end, it's like, oh, the invaders are us. It's typical Twilight Zone, but it's one of my favorite episodes.
The being us all along vaguely reminds me of one of my favorite Reddit posts I saw. It was talking about how lemons are like a man-made thing. It's like a cross hybrid between orange bitters and something else. And then
I've heard about this.
It was actually like, I guess it was like a British military secret for a while, because that's what they use lemons to fight off scurvy on boats. So yeah, the post was like, life didn't give us lemons, it was us all along.
Well, that's like bananas are a completely man-made construct.
Yeah.
Like because they have, I guess they say they're worried about if any kind of bacteria or whatever starts attacking bananas, that bananas will be gone, because there's only one kind of banana.
Yeah.
There's no diversity there, really. They're all pretty much the same. Even the ones that are red and small or whatever, they're all basically the same thing.
Is this the Cavendish banana? Is it still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Because bananas originally, because there is a natural banana, but it had a thorny, like, skeleton inside it.
Huh.
But it was the same banana material, but you had to boil it to get that thorny skeleton out, because you couldn't eat it to be like putting a barberry in your mouth. So yeah, they through breeding and manipulation, they made bananas into what we know them as now. Because before, by the time you boiled it out, it was just banana soup. It didn't have that flavor that you wanted.
Remember to tell Kirk Cameron that.
Why?
He's a Jesus freak, and they has some video where he's talking about how like banana is intelligent design by God, because it's like it fits in your hand and you can like unwrap it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in some way he's right, because if God made man and then man made bananas, it's intelligent design, but it's not as esoteric as what he's making. I don't know. I like that movie where he was I didn't ever watch it, but people talked about it, where he was the fireman and he wasn't going to fuck around on his wife. And it was a movie about how him not fucking around on his wife. And I see things like that, and it's like, yeah, let me just clap and cheer, because you know what? I never fucked around on my wife either. I don't expect a fucking medal for it, because it's what you're supposed to do. Not because you're going to burn in hell forever, because you love somebody. You don't want to hurt them.
Yeah, I think that's a movie that had like a sex scene, and they did it in like silhouette, and like his wife like replaced the actress in the movie.
Oh, I'm sure it's all fucking weird.
Yeah.
Is it called Fireproof or something?
Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah.
It was just weird.
It's because it's also about a firefighter, but it's also about saving a marriage.
Yeah. Again, I love all these Christian guys that get together and like want to throw a party for not fucking around on their wife. Yeah, I didn't kill anyone today either, but it's like, you're also not supposed to do that. I didn't lust after my neighbor's ox or his ass. And I mean literally an ass, like a donkey. Whatever. I mean, I guess if it's important to you, it's just weird. I don't know what I never understood that audience that needed that message. I could just like, oh, well, if you need to just constantly have this reinforced, then obviously something's going wrong.
Well, you know, they feel under attack by modern sensibility, so they have to create their own
I guess.
special needs audience.
I mean, it's like Adam Carolla. As much as some of the stuff he does, I don't like. He is a brilliant philosopher, and he had this perfect thing about man's only as faithful as his opportunities. that's all it is. And people are only as good as like, yeah, I never robbed the bank. You know, like, good for you. Have you ever stolen? Oh shit, yeah, every day of my life. But yeah, that's. Anyway, what were we talking? Oh yeah, bananas and broccoli's the same thing.
Yeah.
Man-made food doesn't exist anywhere else, or wouldn't if. I mean, we didn't like sit down in a lab and grow it out of moss. It was, but we just did a lot of plant DNA. Is very malleable.
Oh, yeah, there's a similar thing to apples because like most apples are completely inedible, so like you have to graft an edible apple onto an apple tree to have it grow edible apples. So we're basically all eating the same apple.
Yeah, they're just.
But then you got cool shit like grapples. You ever had a grapple?
Oh, where it's
an apple that tastes like a grape.
Yeah, it's basically a cross. That's lab made.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like we're taking fucking pipettes and we're putting stuff together. Yeah, I have had those. It's weird. It's cool. It kind of reminds me of wine. It's like it's a wine flavor to it. It's like, this is weird, but I like it. Then I found out what it was, and it's like, am I gonna grow horns or something? You know, am I gonna have a tail? It's like, no, it'll be nothing cool. It'll just be tumors all over. I don't want that. I want a tail.
Have to eat that cauliflower to fight those tumors.
Yeah. My wife loves cauliflower. I don't get it. It's like eating like air flavored solids. It's just like it has there's nothing to it at all flavor wise for me.
I don't know, like just straight cauliflower, because I can eat just straight cauliflower, but I also like it, like, you know, those things you have like the ranch dip and you get all the vegetables, and like I'll eat it straight, but every once in a while you gotta have a ranch covered cauliflower.
Yeah, just a shot of ranch. Darn, eat straight. Just loves it. It's like, I don't understand, but she doesn't know why I like vanilla. Like my favorite ice cream is vanilla, and she's like, that's horrible. So everyone's got their own taste thing.
I know cauliflower is huge right now. We can't even keep it in fucking stock. Well, we can. The expensive items we have it in stock.
Yeah.
But the cheapest thing we have, which is just the Great Value brand of cauliflower, can't get it in stock. Out for months.
What are people doing with it?
They are making things with it because like Bird's Eye and Green Giant, they now have like rice cauliflower. They have cauliflower tater tots.
Yeah, I've had the cauliflower mashed potato substitute.
Yep, that too.
Supposed to reduce carbs. That's actually not bad, but you end up putting so much salt and shit on it, you're almost like defeating the point.
Like I said, yeah, I think I said that off air, but like, yeah, the diabetic people love that stuff because apparently they can have it.
Diabetic.
Because like we just couldn't keep it on the shelves. The first time we got that stuff, it was like we got a box a week, and then like the first diabetic person that walked in there just emptied the shelf into their basket.
What did I get that was like that I couldn't get forever? And I got almost a case. The Hungry Man vegetable soup.
Huh.
That's my favorite. Like, I've got 5 minutes to prepare dinner. I'm not feeling like cooking, and Stacy's at work, and no one's here. You couldn't find the vegetable soup for like ever.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why. It's not like it's something great or rare or something. It's just that's my favorite kind of like meal in a can. Like, I don't have to add anything to this. I'm just gonna eat this and go, you know, slough off to bed. And you couldn't find it for it's like 6 or 8 months, and I kept asking. They're like, oh, we don't know when we're getting more in. And then when they did get some in, I bought 24 cans. I'm like, I'm not running out of this again.
And the other weird arguments I end up with people's. So, do you remember do you know Blue Bunny?
Yes, the ice cream.
Yeah, because I always when I growing up thinking that was like the premier ice cream was Blue Bunny.
Okay, in the South it is.
I
I think.
Well, there it's it's like La Blue ice cream. They come in those like they have like gold and silver like kind of foiling on the top of it.
Right, mega fancy.
Yeah, they only deliver up to Missouri.
Okay.
Because we get truckers all the time from the south that come in looking for the blue ice cream, and like we don't fucking sell that.
We don't have that hillbilly shit here.
But if you want to get 4 quarts of it, they'll send it to you in a dry ice container. They'll ship it to you straight to you. But yeah, I was like, but they're like the 3rd largest ice cream manufacturer. The first is Breyers,
Yeah.
and then after that is another company called Dryers, which I've never seen whatsoever.
I'm not familiar with that.
And I don't know, or like I think something after it's like Nestle or something, because Nestle does the Eddie's ice cream.
Yeah, that makes sense. We get a lot of that here. Eddie's.
But he's so Blue Bunny owns a company called Blue Ribbon, which is like their sort of discount brand ice cream.
Okay.
So like when you go to so if you're buying a tub of ice cream, they're Blue Ribbon ones, but it's Blue Bunny ice cream. But I asked them, but like somebody at some point they made the big tubs of just said Blue Bunny on it and not Blue Ribbon, and like there was a lady that got mad at me one time. It's like, no, we don't sell the Blue Ribbon ones. Like, yes, you do. We don't sell the Blue Bunny ones. And then the distributor walked in one time, like looking at like all the new stuff that they were gonna sell, and I was like, hey, do you guys make like the big tubs of Blue Bunny? He's like, no, it's just Blue Ribbon. It was like, yeah, customers are complaining that it tastes different. It's like, oh yeah, we use less like butter fat cream in making those so that it tastes different from the Blue Bunny ice creams.
It's basically a product we make to drive people to our more premium product. We're not saying it's inedible.
Well, no, it tastes fine because like when you get a bucket of ice cream, it's either because it's a party thing, or you're just stocking up, or you're making root beer floats.
Yeah.
Which, when you make root beer floats, you don't really need premium ice cream.
Right. You're putting extra sugar and molasses on top of it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's. I'll tell you what I got on for a long time and just quit. Kind of dropped it like cigarettes. Was Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
That single serve tubs. It was like 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
What was the shit that? Oh, it was the I can't think about it now because I'm gonna go get some. It's the chocolate fudge brownie / cookie dough combo. Ever had that?
Does that have a name, or is that just half baked?
That's just it's half baked.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like the combo. It's
Well, that's what half bake is. Well, I know half bake has cookie dough and the brownies in it, but it might be a different. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that for a long time. Until I finally flipped the container around because I was like, I don't know. It's all mind over matter, but then I flipped it around, so it was. And those are single serve containers. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
half of that, and like I'm putting this back in the freezer.
No, fuck it, kill it.
Eat that bitch. I mean, I had some. Didn't I leave some of that in the freezer at your house?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know I got some. I was like, well, can't take this to Michigan with me. Better not eat this whole thing at 5 in the morning as I'm heading out the door.
My favorite one, they don't make it anymore, but my favorite one was Dave Matthews Magic Brownies, which was brownie ice cream and like with a raspberry swirl in it. It's like vanilla and raspberry swirled ice cream with brownies in it. It was great, but they don't make it anymore. My favorite one is Tonight Dough, which is kind of has. It's really hard to describe. It has cookie dough in it, but it kind of also has like an almost crunchy sort of brownie batter thing mixed in it, and it's a mixture of vanilla and chocolate ice cream. It's pretty good. But they quit making. But Jimmy Fallon had one before that too, called Late Night Snack, which that one was pretty interesting because it was just vanilla ice cream, and then it had kind of like these Whopper kind of chocolate balls in it that were filled with potato chips.
Oh, I remember that.
And you don't taste it as potato chips, but it kind of has just like a salty, kind of savory taste with it. It was pretty good. And also, Americone Dream's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's Colbert's, right?
Yeah.
What was the other thing I got into for a while? Oh, it was the Talente.
Oh yeah.
I love the blood orange. Someone told me that wasn't ice cream. I was like, it tastes like ice cream. It's like, no, that's something different. It's like, well, whatever it is. Like, it's like Italian frozen ice or something. It's like, well, whatever it is.
What was it? Fucking. Yeah, it has a specific thing to it, but it's basically just whipped faster. So it's essentially, it's closer to Cool Whip than ice cream, but it's still fucking ice cream.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I think that's ice cream, and then whatever it is, I don't care.
Uh,
And then they have one called Tahitian Vanilla Bean.
yeah,
That's really good.
yeah. It's considered gelato. That's what they call it,
Gelato, okay.
but it's fucking ice cream.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, the new hot ice cream game in town is Halo Top. Have you had those or seen those?
No,
They're basically, it's like a whole container is only like 250 calories.
okay.
And people say they taste good, but it's, it's like, a tenth of the calories from Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how to do it, if it's just like, ultra filtering or whatever, or something like that, or they're using less sugar and just distributing it more evenly so it tastes more sugary. Because sometimes that's a difference where it's like, sometimes there's just so much sugar in there because the distribution is random. So that's why they put so much sugar in there to just ensure a taste. Like, all right, we got enough sugar in there. But if you distribute it correctly, you could use less sugar. But the thing I saw the other day is like somebody had left a Halo Top somewhere, and so it melted. And it was like a third the size of the container.
Okay.
So they're doing something like with aeration or some shit where like they're filling out a cup of a pint of ice cream with like a third of the mass or something.
Oh, and those caverns of deception. Truth. That's great.
Yeah. That's the ice cream update.
I didn't realize that was such a thing.
Yeah, we went from with Halo Top. We went from having like 5 flavors, and now we have a whole fucking door of it.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to try some of those. Try some of their air.
It's the Ivory Soap of ice cream, or Irish Spring. I think Irish Spring was the. I mean, yeah, where it's like, yeah, that's like, why is this bar of soap going so quickly? It's like, oh, because it's mostly air in there.
I'm not washing that vigorously. Wow, it's really pouring out there.
Oh, is it okay?
Sounds like someone's pouring a bucket
Yeah,
outside my window.
that's what I had at work today. Just all of a sudden, it's like, it's gonna be great when this all freezes.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun when it's like 28 by Monday morning, driving to work on this sheet of ice. Well, we lost a president this yesterday.
Yep.
George Herbert Walker Bush, 41st president of the United States, died at 94, like 6 months after his wife died. I guess he had Parkinson's disease really bad.
Yeah.
So that was sad. I remember him because I almost could vote when it was him versus Clinton. I think I was like 6 months shy or whatever, because I was at November. But yeah, I remember because he was the one that was like I remember there was a lot of conflict with him because we had the collapse of the Soviet Union, we had Panama, and then we had the Persian Gulf War. First, or what, Gulf War I, as they call it now, or what, Desert Storm 1.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was those were the tumultuous years of him. He was only a one-termer. After the victory in the first Gulf War, he had an unprecedented 94% approval rating, and a year later lost the election. So, things kind of went south for HW pretty quick.
Well, he'd been around for quite a while because he was like the director of CIA for a while, and then he was
Congressman,
vice president to Reagan for 2 terms. So
Yeah. And he was not a popular guy with Republicans either, interestingly enough, because he was smart. Like when he was Bush's vice president, and he was kind of a background guy. He did a lot of like, let's make friends with Margaret Thatcher. I can talk to Gorbachev for 16 hours, like, because he was the vice president. but he didn't like a lot of the shit going on around Reagan either, and he was sort of outspoken about, I think this is getting a little stupid. I think we're going the wrong direction. Because with Reagan, it was like, yeah, don't take Grandpa to the Nuremberg rally. Just tell him about, like, yeah, America's great and capitalism and all that. You could kind of keep Reagan in the dark. Bush was smart. He knew exactly what these guys were about and what they were doing, and he wasn't quite as hawkish as Reagan and some of the people around him. Because a lot of the things he did were based on cooperation with allies, and because even though he led us through a lot of, pretty good-sized wars for that time, it was always done in conjunction with the international community, with our allies. We weren't going it alone. That's why the first Gulf War ended quickly. It didn't cost us $4 trillion, and there was actually an.
Well, we also left.
Yeah, I mean, but we accomplished. Everyone sat down and agreed. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to cost, and this is how we're going to split all that up. And it wasn't like his son's war later on, which was started on weird premises. I mean, at least like the first Gulf War, it's like, oh no, Iraq invaded another sovereign country. It's one no one had ever heard of before it happened in America, but they did do that, and the end date was to get them out. And 293 Allied soldiers died and 10,000 Iraqi soldiers died. So I guess we can say, yeah, we got them out of Kuwait and destroyed a lot of their army, and it was done. And it didn't go on for 10 years or still go on or whatever. And that's what he's remembered for primarily. But a lot of the stuff that went on around the fall of the Soviet Union was a huge stress for him, because his administration's biggest concern with that is like, where are all these nuclear weapons and biological weapons and chemical weapons, and he had some pretty direct. I remember Gorbachev got basically thrown out and overthrown in a coup as president, and it's like, where's this gonna go? And it ended up being Yeltsin. It's like, oh, the happy drunk, good. At least we didn't get some ultra nationalist psychopath. And his domestic policy was, what killed him was Ross Perot, split the vote. That became the Dumb and Dumber election. You had Ross Perot on one side, and then you had a bunch of bad Republican economic policies that led us into the worst recession since the 80s. And then on the other side, you had Bill Clinton, who felt your pain. So between that and Perot, he didn't get a second term. He was kind of upset about that, but he wouldn't align himself with the crazies. That's why he brought Dan Quayle on, because everyone was always mystified at that choice. It was like, why did you choose this guy? He's like, oh, because he appeals to the religious nuts and those people that I don't understand. Because, they talk about George Bush like, yeah, he was a Texas oil man. It's like, well, no, he was a guy raised in Maine. He was a blue blood from the Eastern establishment who went to Texas and made a bunch of money after World War II in the oil boom. But he's not a Texas oil guy. He was a business guy and someone whose, whole family was involved in all kinds of politics and intrigue. So, but yeah, now he's like fondly remembered. Like some people are talking about this guy like he's a hero, because you look at him. And it's like some of his biggest gaffes were like throwing up on the Chinese prime minister, and he didn't like broccoli sprouts or something, Brussels sprouts or something. But his big political killer was no new taxes. Remember that? Read my lips.
Yeah.
No more taxes. And then 2 years later, he had to raise taxes to pay for all the fucking nonsense that did. Like, it's like, let's build missiles on the moon. It's like, that's expensive as shit, Ronald. No. It's prosperity and the American dream, and I'm going to wear a cowboy hat. So we had to pay for a lot of that nonsense, and we had to make the government solvent, which is a crazy idea now. Like, no, you can't even think about that. But
I remember someone brought up like one of the most important legislative things he did was like the
Clean Air Act.
Oh, did he do that? But no, it was the well, that might have worked too. But the
the ADA?
Is that the handicap?
Yeah, Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yeah,
that was him. Met with ferocious resistance by the Interestingly enough, not coincidentally, but just interestingly, like, yeah, fuck those people. So, oh, wonderful.
I'm not buying a ramp for one person to come into my store.
You're not gonna take my hard-earned money, so some retard can get into my store. I mean, I can just hear the shit that they say. Yeah, that was one of his biggest and only domestic achievements. He did some other things, but he was really a foreign policy president.
Yeah.
And he was a very dispassionate person. He did not get out. He was not like a natural speaker, like he's going to look you in the eyes and he's going to give these like, great Kennedy speeches. No, he's going to give a pretty boring summation of like, this is what I did. This is why I did it. It worked. It's like everything he's saying is right, but his whole delivery is completely bland. So,
no, so that was the rise of CNN. So I wonder if that like exacerbated that stuff.
Probably. I mean, it was. He just wasn't seen as a president that people loved. And a lot of people in the Republican Party didn't like him. But then, of course, we look at now and we're like, oh, this guy's like Jesus. What this fucking nonsense we have now. He really loved his wife, and he was really good to his family. And everyone always said about him, like, he's the most decent guy. He had a great sense of humor. You didn't see it a lot on TV, but in normal life, like, he had a sense of humor. He was funny. And he was a real person, but a lot of times he came across as kind of this stiff, sort of foreign policy wonk who didn't relate to people very well. But some people are strange about. They think like their leaders should be their friends. It's like that seldom ever works out well. Oh well, guys, we're doing fine. That's not the winning move. I'm trying to think. Yeah, he was the last guy from World War II. He was the last of that generation. He was a fighter pilot, got shot down in World War II. Landed on aircraft carriers, I think. Yeah.
He was a Navy pilot.
World War II, which was like, that's like the age of steam. Yeah, gonna land on this, aircraft carrier in the middle of this ocean in a prop plane, no landing lights, and but yeah. So he was the last of those guys, and like I said, you just see the degeneration of that whole party. It's like, George H.W. Bush is a guy I might disagree with on a lot of things, but I would never think like, oh, he's an existential threat to the continued existence of humanity on the planet. Like, I never got that vibe from his son. I kind of did, and definitely from the guy we got now, I do. But it's like, oh, I didn't like this guy at the time, but in retrospect, he's a great person. Comparatively, it's like the Democrats get better. Well, I don't know, because you had Carter, who was, I mean, if you ask him, he won't say this, but kind of a misguided, naive, but decent guy. And then you had Clinton and just seemed like a terrible person. Like, you wouldn't want to rely on him as a spouse or something. But he had some ideas, and he wasn't an evil person. And then you had Obama, who was like almost a saint, in his personal life and the way he conducted himself, at least that we know of. And then like the Republicans, it's like, well, you had Nixon, who that didn't end well. He was actually a pretty typical politician for his time, and then you had old Saint Ronald Reagan, who was, I don't know, seemed like a nice guy, but surrounded himself with some really bad people. And then Bush was kind of an uptick, and then it's been downhill from there. Sharply, like measurably. You have to really reach to try to make these two guys seem like something great, unless you're just basing it on the most narrow. What I don't know what you're basing it on. Your ability to utter racist things in public. I don't know what the metric for those guys are now. because again, it's just like with the John McCain funeral. It's like it's weird. It seems like the liberal people and the Democrats, even the more liberal Democrats, are saying good things, but it's like the Republicans are talking about this guy like he was an asshole, or it's like he fucked his country up. What are you basing this on?
He gave a thumbs down. We couldn't get rid of health care.
He quit the NRA. I know that because they wrote really nasty things about. Because he passed some legislation about waiting periods to buy handguns or something. That was him, and they wrote really nasty things about him. And he just sent him a letter saying, "I'm not part of your organization anymore. You can cancel my membership." And then he gave it to the New York Times. Published this. This is. So yeah, that puts him in the list of bad people, I guess. I don't know. I try to grasp this, but I think I've always looked at this through the wrong lens of like, I try to be rational. It's like, why do you hate this guy? It's like, yeah, he was a terrible steward of the economy, but you're citing things like he was part of some secret cabal to enslave humanity or something. It's like, I don't know. It's like, oh, that's why you don't like him, because of your made up bullshit. Okay, great. We're not even speaking the same language. So yeah, George H.W. Bush,
94,
94 years old, and with a lot of health problems. It's I mean, he must have been a good guy, because one of the people that was with him when he died, there was a lot of people that he used, like James Baker, the Secretary of State when he was president. That guy was at his bedside when he died.
Huh.
And there were a bunch of other people from his cabinet that were with him. And it's like, oh, he must have really been a good boss. I don't know who shows up, watch the boss die. It's like, that's kind of weird, but he must have been a good guy. Or maybe that's the kind of some people have relationships like that, I guess. I don't know. I don't. But some people do.
Yeah, that would require knowing where your boss lives, which is never a good idea.
Yeah, the level I'm at, it's not. We don't mix at the country club on the weekends and hang out. Like if I show up at my boss's house, usually it's a sign that it's like something's gone seriously wrong. We're going in a different direction here. But that's the difference between being one of the lumpen proletariat and being one of the elected. You have to keep your enemies close.
Keep your enemies at your deathbed.
It's like, why are you at this guy's funeral? I thought you hated him. I just want to make sure the fucker's dead. Okay, no, I thought you hope for a message of conciliation at the end of life. Well, in the balance of things, he wasn't a bad guy. It's like, no, he's just hillbillies full of hate. I just want to make sure he's dead. I want to see his body because it's important to me. He died first. It's like, well, you got a great life.
He was the fulcrum of all my problems. Now he's gone. Life's going all the way up.
Everything's gonna turn around. You still have emphysema, Tom. It doesn't matter. He just came to me in a vision last night. It's like, really? The Son of God is talking to you? Can't even change a tire on your truck anymore. But God has a special mission for you. That's cool. My own fantasy world. I'm the center of my own universe. The older I get, the better I was. My dick used to be 1.5 feet long. So anyway, yeah, President George H.W. Speaking of weird conspiracies, I had someone come and tell me something this week with breathless seriousness, as if valuable information was going to be imparted to me. Have you heard about the California wildfires? Yeah, I have. I've heard about them. You know what happened? They had giant forest fires and a bunch of wind that burned up a bunch of dry forests, like it's been happening for like the last 5,000 years there. You know what really happened? Insurance fraud. I'm just grasping now. It was directed energy weapons. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, why would you use a fucking laser beam fired from a satellite to do what you could accomplish with a map? But I didn't say anything. I just let it go because I don't want to get shot or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to fucking activate somebody. They decide they can't take it anymore. But yeah, I someone told me that, and I was like, oh, I gotta go look this up at home. There's not a lot of it out there, but there's enough of it out there that where like people took time to edit videos and put things together, and like they had one picture of all this smoke and fire, and you see this light coming from the middle of it, and it was like, you see that? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, it's like a spotlight pointing up into the air, because that's exactly what it was. And it's like, that's proof. It's like, wait a minute. We have directed energy weapons. They've used them to shoot down drones and release the footage. They don't produce light in a visible spectrum. It's like an X-ray laser or something. It's not like a movie where it shoots a red beam or something. But why bother? Why comment? It's like, it's exciting. Whatever you guys are saying is really exciting. It's not what happened, but sounds fun.
Now, there is a directed energy weapon that we witness every day. It's called the sun.
Yeah. It's working.
Not
Source of all problems.
Now, I thought I was going to come back to I saw that one where that was a very strange headline, but it was something like gender reveal party caught on camera responsible for 16,000 acre fire in Arizona. I was like, what is this? So someone had a gender reveal party where they set up a target to be shot that then exploded blue. So it's like,
Okay.
oh, we're having a boy. And then that set a fire off and then burnt 16,000 acres, and they got sued for $8 million or something like that.
Which they're going to be able to pay back.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, that could be, I would be more comfortable with those explanations.
But that was in Arizona. That wasn't California.
Yeah, no, I know.
There was one of the fires in California was started by, it was like a tire, it was like a tire fell off a car, and when the car leaned over, it started a spark that then started one of these giant fires.
That shit is dry. It is so dry. If you throw a lit cigarette out the window, you could destroy a bunch of homes. It doesn't surprise me. I would be more likely to believe that, though, than, again, satellite guided or something. It's like, that's not really what's going on.
Well, we haven't had a 9/11 for a while, so we just have to have new, conspiracies for all disasters.
Well, yeah, everything is a conspiracy now. I haven't heard from Alex Jones in a while.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get to him.
Oh, no, you can go to his website.
Yeah. But it's harder to accidentally come across him on social media.
Yeah, I missed that. You can watch his videos, but now they bitch. It's like, hey, do you want to watch our video? Turn your ad blocker off. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. I only wanted to watch this purely for entertainment, not to fund your vitamin empire. It's like, I'm going to sell you a formula that turns you red. That's healthy. It's like, no, it isn't. That's just me walking upstairs. I don't need to buy a formula that turned me red.
And then there's these new upstart of social medias that are it's kind of conservative based. It's like, here's the real free speech. We're not going to kick you off our media altogether like Google and Facebook. And then somebody associated with it goes shoots up a place, and then
shoots a synagogue up. That's the guy was on what was that one, Jab or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they had to shut down and implement new guidelines.
Hey, you can't incite murder. Oh, fuck you. It's my constitutional right, not murder. Oh, is it? Okay. I'm not just going to yell fire in a crowded theater. I'm going to start the fire. Am I right?
Well, I'm singing Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire," ironically,
Yeah.
because we
like-
totally started the fire.
I like irony in my life. My life's nothing but irony. If you get me off my sister long enough, I'll kick your ass. Okay. That's what the Bible says. Yeah, that's I've explored some of that stuff. And it's basically just because all those sites are back up now. I mean, I go to horrible websites just to see what's going on. Like, if anyone ever looked at my browsing history, they're like, this guy's a neo-Nazi anarchist who's obsessed with nuclear weapons and models and Chernobyl. What is this guy? How do we classify him? But yeah, I go to horrible websites, like just to see what this alternative media, the new alternative, the alternative to alternative media. And it's just people just saying the most heinous racist shit they can. A lot of all caps. It's like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it would be. I wasn't really expecting nuanced thought and great ideas, but I was kind of hoping. It's like, well, maybe. Nah, it's just all fucking stupid.
And my Reddit feed has turned to shit because like I clicked on too many conservative things, and now it's just full of just garbage.
Yeah.
It's like unpopular opinion. It's just like disguised racism.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the subtle racism. Like everyone's like, nobody understands. It's like, no, everyone fucking understands what you're doing. It's not.
Like somebody commented on a tweet from Ben Shapiro where he like wrote something about like, you know, people in the poorhouses, you know, or poor people using all our resources and stuff like that. And then somebody commented back, it's like, oh, you took the long road to say the N-word, huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Inner city. That's another one. That's another code. Some guy in Alabama writing about the inner city crime. He has fucking dial-up internet. It's like, where's this inner city crime affecting you?
Yeah,
exactly.
All that urban crime. Yeah, it's hard to commit a crime against another person if you're fucking literally 5 miles away from the next person.
Yeah, it's like a camping trip to go commit crime with another person near these remote areas. Like, you gotta bring food in a backpack, and you know, and have one of them life straws so you can, you know, drink fetid water.
It's a next Vera Farmiga murder mystery.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. A long way to say these. It's terrific, and that's exactly what it is too. I mean, there's some websites you can go to. I won't even name them, but everyone knows what they are. And it's like people will make long, impassioned arguments about literally we need a second Holocaust, and it's like they'll have all these bullet points of everything that will be set right. And the scary thing is, this isn't in all caps with no punctuation. This is like somebody wrote a fucking thesis paper about and they're not cursing, and they're speaking in very, you know, straightforward language about, you know, this is why we have to do this. This is why we have, and they're just advocating the death of like 3.5 billion people. It's like, but this has to be done. This is how it can happen. And it's like that's scary. If it's just somebody typing shit in all caps and it's just racist sloganeering, it's like, oh, okay, I know that guy's an idiot. But these people are like doing homework. They worry me. It's like, yeah, we got a plan.
We've adjusted the cold math, and people must die for your benefit.
Yeah.
Join the cause.
Yeah, and that's a system that works. Yeah, there's a whole subsection of people that just worship that too. They're just like, yeah, women are just breeding stock. Like if you're over 30 and you don't have any kids, you should just be shot in the back of the head. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But these are also just, there's no pushback on these websites. Like no one's like, whoa, hold on there, Tex. Hold on there. Like an apocalypse. What about clean water? Like, no, you never hear that. It's always, yeah, you're right. And then the Bible says, in the book of Enoch tells us this. And then it's like, well, AK-47s or AR-15s, best gun for the apocalypse. Like it just branches off into threads of, oh God, what are we doing? But then again, there I am 5 hours later. Like I'm all learned up.
I watched Game Night. It's a new comedy with Jason Bateman.
The movie?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
And there's the part in it where they're trying to pull a bullet out of his arm after he got shot. And it's like, all right, I found out on the web how to get it. It's a racist website, but it's the only place I can find to tell you how to like retrieve.
Yeah,
We'll just have to ignore the racism.
some militia website.
Yeah. And then she fucking like puts a huge gash in his arm. It's like, why did you cut it so big? It's like, oh, there's the exit wound. There's no bullet in me. Oh, great.
I think I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, that's our country, though, or at least the places I'm going. I mean, I go to the other websites too, and it's like just as crazy, but in different ways. What's my new thing I'm in? Oh yeah, post-humanism. I'm really getting into like just reading about that.
I'm just gonna skip transhumanism, go right to the computer taking over everything.
Well, no, post-humanism, as I mean, the vein of it that I'm reading a lot about, that the rabbit hole I'm going down is, it's basically because a lot of it, because I found out about it on a sci-fi forum because I was reading about the new science fiction books, and it's like, yeah, all this stuff about getting rid of gender norms and everything, it's all preparing us for this post-humanism that's coming, and it's coming fast. It's like Kurzweil. We're 10 years. We got 10 years to build the ship, and we're gonna be sailing away. And yeah, there was something that's like, yeah, basically post-humans are just like this immortal, genderless beings that just live in realms of pure thought, and it's like, yeah, it sounds pretty boring after a while. But that's when you get past all the weird, like, people with multicolored hair marching around college campuses, and you try to dig at the nucleus of like, well, who's saying this and why? And yeah, then you get into these post-humanism forums where, and I don't comment, I just read reams and reams and reams of this shit. Yeah, that's the other thing I'm doing on the internet now. Getting closer and closer to that visit from the FBI. Mr. Murphy, you noticed your web browsing history? It's like, no, I'm a weirdo. Come on.
You seem intent on destroying the entire world's population.
Including yourself?
For God?
but not the white man's God? Oh.
Question mark?
Yeah. Yeah, makes you wonder.
So yeah, let's go into movie talk real quick. Just
let's just go, because I'm about ready to get us pulled off of you.
Because we watched the Seven Samurai. I went and watched the American remake of it called Magnificent Seven.
Oh, Yul Brynner, yeah.
Yeah, the 1960 Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen. It's a good movie. I really liked that. It was because while I was reading about it, I heard like it was a failure here, but it was really liked overseas. I'm like, sometimes that's a bad sign. It's like,
yeah. Oh, this movie was like boring and pathological in its boredom. It's like, no.
No, it was long. I mean, they managed to cut about an hour out of the movie and still have out of Seven Samurai and still have everything, pretty much everything that was in that movie in here. They managed.
They didn't have like long dolly shots on the street of just a guy staring at a house.
No.
Do as much of that.
But they also incorporated a bunch of scenes straight from Seven Samurai. There's sort of like, there's that dueling scene, and they made it from Seven Samurai, and here they made it more of a, a Western dueling scene. But one guy has a knife, the other guy has a gun.
Yeah.
And that dude, it was like James Coburn. He looked a lot like the guy whose character that played in Seven Samurai. Kind of looked like it kind of looked like Mr. Spock almost too, because he's also a very cold, calculated guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, James Coburn. Yeah, I know what he looks like. That's a pretty good casting decision.
But has a switchblade throwing knife.
Yeah.
And then they had the wood cutting scene, and that's where fucking Charles Bronson shows up. And I was like, I didn't know he's in this fucking movie. A young Charles Bronson.
Yeah, basically all the action heroes from the 60s and 70s were in that movie.
Yeah.
The young ones and then the older ones.
And Yul Brynner, who I've only seen like Yul Brynner in like screenshots and like clips of scenes. I didn't realize he was a foreigner.
Yeah, he's
some Eastern European, vaguely Russian thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like an Olympic swimmer? I can't remember like his background or some shit, but
something like that.
But yeah, he has a very strong bassy voice, so he does have a commanding presence, and also he's bald, so
which was kind of unusual at that time. A lot of people wearing rugs.
Yeah. And then I was reading some trivia about it, and I guess so. Like Yul Brynner fought to get Steve McQueen that role because that kind of started his career. Well, it didn't start his career, but it like took off from there.
Yeah.
And he fought to give him that role, and then they fucking hated each other through the entire filming of that movie.
I could see that.
Because he was like always challenging him. And there's a scene where they have to drive what's it called? A hearse. A horse and buggy hearse to a graveyard. And that's kind of like the first scene in the movie with them together. And so like the first time, like, you always hear this thing like somebody's trying to upstage me, and I didn't really understand what that meant. Like watch that scene, and like you understand when someone's trying to upstage them, it's like, oh, they're just trying to draw as much attention to themselves rather than necessarily like let's serve the purpose of telling a story. Like no, he's trying to grab all the attention he can away from Yul Brynner. It's like he was a fucking dick, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, Yul Brynner was born in the Russian Far East, almost China.
Oh, okay.
All
All
yeah.
right. So not Eastern European at all.
No, almost opposite. Closer to California than Eastern Europe.
So yeah, like he's always like doing shit with his hat and things like that. And I guess at some point, Yul Brynner said like, "Quit doing shit with your hat, or I'll take my hat off and nobody will see you, because they'll just be staring at his bald head the whole time."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it borrows a lot from Seven Samurai. But it manages to fit everything into a Western. Like it fits pretty well. I mean, because that's what Akira Kurosawa was doing, like just making Westerns but as samurais instead. So it converts pretty well. And then I also saw the new Magnificent Seven, which is with Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt.
Doing one of those.
Yeah, it's okay.
Nope.
It's
okay.
It's not as good as the 1960s version, but it's fine. It's Antoine Fuqua, so he can make decent action movies, but it's like generally he makes kind of poor movies. But they always look good. Well, I guess he directed the Equalizer movies, which I haven't seen those. I know people like them, but
I've heard actually good things about those, despite critics not liking them.
yeah.
So I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Whenever Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington get together, it's usually it's like, hey Denzel, you do your thing, and he's usually great. So.
Oh, okay.
Because they did Training Day together, so that was Antoine Fuqua's first Hollywood movie, which is a great movie.
Yes, it is.
Which also Ethan Hawke is in this too. In the new.
Oh, okay.
Also, shit. This guy blows his brains out in Full Metal Jacket. Vincent D'Onofrio, he's in this.
D'Onofrio, okay.
So like one thing I think that this new one does well is that so they're always kind of like, you know, in Seven Samurai, everyone kind of is a slightly different kind of samurai, or at least different kind of personality type. So in the 1960s Magnificent Seven, you know, they do a little bit more of separating them. You know, everyone has their specialty. So here it's even more like, because like in the original one, it's like mostly white guys, one Mexican dude, and then like Charles Bronson's, I guess he's like half Irish, half Indian or something like that.
Okay.
Or at least his character says that. I don't know what Charles Bronson's actual like makeup is.
I'm not. I think he's from Eastern European ancestry.
Okay.
So that's not his real name.
Yeah. And so here you have, you know, you got a black guy who's like of, recently freed. Well, I'm not sure if he's a freed slave, but yeah, there's because this is, you know, following the Civil War. And then you have a Native American called Red Harvest. That's his name.
Okay.
And then you have a Chinese man who throws knives and stuff, but is also a gunslinger too. he's kind of the character, the guy who's just the really skilled guy from Seven Samurai. That's kind of his character. And James Coburn, that's like he's kind of that. Ethan Hawke was a guy who fought for the South and was like a really, you know, killed lots of people and was really good at it. Now he's haunted by it and like can't kill anybody. So that's kind of his character dilemma. He's really good at killing people and he wants to protect his town, but he's also like afraid if he keeps killing, death will come for him.
Oh, okay.
And then Vincent D'Onofrio, he plays like he's like some sort of weird Davy Crockett bounty hunter. Like he used to hunt Indians because I guess the government used to pay for scalps.
Yes.
But then they stopped doing that, and then basically he just like didn't have a job anymore, and his family died. So he's like he plays it, but he has this really like raspy, high pitched voice that he plays it with, and it's like a really weird choice, but it's like interesting. It's like because he still has his weight from the Kingpin, so he's essentially just a giant linebacker with like fur covered in fur, but like has a tomahawk and shit. Then Chris Pratt is just an Irish drunk who's good at magic tricks and gunfighting.
Oh, okay.
And then there's more of a significant role for a woman in this movie where there was none in the previous iterations. Because it starts out there's like just some robber baron comes in this town, and people are kind of brushing up against him, and he just has like a bunch of people killed, and then like, oh, I guess we're hopeless, and that's sort of like how it all starts. It's not really but the guy kills her husband in the middle of Times Square, and he basically threatens if anybody moves their bodies, then they'll be killed too. So like her husband's just like laying in the middle of the street dead for like 3 days. So she's the one that goes out to get all these guys together to fight against him. It's funny with her because you can tell she was like the fourth choice for that role. It's like, can we get Jennifer Lawrence? Nope. How about Jessica Chastain? Nah, she's busy. How about Bryce Dallas Howard? Nope. All right, let's get this chick. He worked with her before. She was in The Equalizer, so like Antoine Fuqua had worked with her before, so, and Denzel Washington too, so that makes more sense. But she totally looks like, you know, your D-grade Jennifer Lawrence. And it's not like she's a bad actor or anything like that. It's just that she looks so close to Jennifer Lawrence where they make her up to look that way. It's like, oh, you wanted Jennifer Lawrence in this role, didn't you?
Haley Bennett.
Yeah. And then a good thing they do in this movie is, so like in the in Seven Samurai and also in Magnificent Seven, like they fight about like 40 people.
Yeah.
So here they're fighting like fucking 200 people. So there's a lot of killing to be done. So they do that pretty well. So lots of bullets flying, lots of dynamite, a Gatling gun, you know.
Yeah, all
that.
staples. So they made the Outlaw Josie Wales and the Magnificent Seven remake.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's it was okay. It was I don't think it was as good as the original, but it's a fine action movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to check that out when it comes out.
It's on Amazon Prime right now. You can watch it.
Oh, okay.
Also, the original Magnificent Seven's on there too, so you can watch both of them. That's how I was able to watch both of them.
Oh, okay. Check that out. Well, anyway, we started with the untimely demise of Filmstruck.
Which will be coming back in January as something else, the Criterion Channel or something.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll renew our subscription.
Oh, maybe. Oh, we'll see. I don't know.
Or maybe.
Because we were only going to do it for a year, but
yeah.
And our year was almost up. We had like 3 more months to go, but oh well. But yeah, sometime in January, Criterion's going to start up their own channel because I got an email. It's like, you can like say you're going to sign up now and we'll give you a discount. It's like, how much is this thing going to fucking cost? But it seems like they're going to have pretty much the same exact library. Like they're going to have whatever, because I'm guessing Criterion's running it, so they're going to have whatever they want to throw up.
Right.
They also they were talking about how like the deals with Turner Classic Movies, so they'll have all that stuff still again.
Okay.
And then other like foreign stuff will be on there too. So it seems like they'll just have the same library that we're doing. So
it's just going to be a reshuffle.
Yeah.
For what reason? Okay.
I imagine AT&T will have some kerfuffle, so they'll probably have to do some weird programming magic to like, oh, this shares none of the code base with what you did at Filmstruck.
Yeah.
So I remember Giant Bomb had to do that when they got bought by CBSI.
Yeah.
They CBS bought. So they bought Giant Bomb and they bought Comic Vine, and then their other websites. So, what was it before it came tested? I can't remember. Maybe it was always tested. Yeah, it was always tested.
But now it was like Adam.
Yeah, Adam's tested or whatever.
Tested,
Yeah, that's it. So that got sold somewhere. So, but like the technology, the whole thing was based on, went to some other company. So they had to like do shit in the background and basically like rewrite their entire website in order to bring it back up for CBS.
I love that stuff.
But CBS had people there, so that became rather easy. Well,
Yeah.
well, I wouldn't say easy. It's just they had more help than they
As long as
would.
you got someone to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, wait, we want you to do all this nonsense. Well, you're going to pay for it? Yeah, okay. Do your nonsense.
And they Giant Bomb just did another redesign to make it more modern looking or more like Netflix-esque.
Okay. Well, that's cool. You still subscribe to them?
Yeah. Yeah, I always, because it's like $60 a year, and I just, that's like half of what a normal subscription service would cost. So
Yeah.
and I go there every day, so I watch all their stuff. So
Yeah. I caught up a little bit on some of the Mystery Science Theater stuff.
oh, did you get through the Gauntlet or the
I watched Atlantic Rim, and what a piece of shit that was.
You know what I thought? You know what the surprising thing about that movie? As far as quick and thrown together as that movie is, I thought the special effects, or at least the CGI, would be worse. It's still bad, but I thought it would be worse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see it. It was such a weird, contrived, I don't know, it's just a strange.
Well, they did it. They shot it basically to like have it out at Redbox at the same time the movie was in the theaters.
Yeah, you told me like that their whole business model is to trick people into thinking this is associated with a real movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that's a strange. That's like being a whore almost. It's kind of a strange business model, but whatever. I guess it must work. They keep doing it.
Yep.
I mean, but it's almost like the porno movies that have like real titles, but they're not. You know.
Well, I don't know. It's there's just something soulless about their stuff. Whereas like Roger Corman, like yeah, they did all this stuff to make movies as cheap as shit as possible. But you could behind it, you could kind of feel like they're trying, or there's at least there's more of an effort to at least some part of this movie that isn't just
Someone wants to engage this entertainment for some reason, is what. Yeah.
yeah.
But with
There's
this
some effort that at some point someone put an effort into the movie. Maybe not completely. Maybe not everybody put forward effort, but at some point effort was put into this. This is just a soulless, like copy and paste.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then me and Stacy watched Mac and Me.
Yeah.
Because see, Stacy doesn't get. She buys me stuff from it, but she doesn't understand. Like she's like, "What do you think's funny about this?" I said, "I just their commentary over these terrible fucking movies." I said, "I understand. I would never watch one of these movies unless these guys were doing this. Like I wouldn't sit down and like, oh, I'm gonna be entertained." And she just doesn't. She thinks some of it's funny, but she thinks it's funny how I react to it more than she thinks it's funny. But we both watched Mac and Me, and she's like, "Who made this awful piece of shit?" I'm like, that's just like 80s cinema there. It's somebody
Coca-Cola and McDonald's co-financed.
McDonald's decided that they were going to make a movie about an alien, and it was going to be a big hit.
Well, an ET ripoff.
And an ET ripoff, yeah.
Yeah, I love the part where they're like, the guy's like, I'm trying to think of this movie, and it's like, oh, E.T., and they keep skewing the E.T., and then he says, no, it's at a camp. Oh, Meatballs 2? Yeah, it's like, because Meatballs 2 totally had some stupid E.T. ripoff storyline in the middle of it. It's like, oh yeah, everybody's doing these fucking alien buddy movies after E.T. came out.
Yeah. So I'm that far, and then tomorrow I'm going to watch a few more. Sunday's my Mystery Science Theater Riff Tracks Day.
Yeah.
When I get all depressed because I have to go back to work for another week, and so I try to watch as much as I can, and then I try a different form of biscuits and gravy. It's just terrible.
Yeah. I think the weirdest one of the initial thing, because I had
If either of you two boys
that like one of the weird things about it is, so first one, they have that model of the satellite that goes down to the planet, like the lander.
Yeah.
And it's like a really good, seemingly high quality model that like has all this like shit it's doing. It's like, that seems pretty well done. Those alien costumes look like fucking garbage.
Yeah, it's like they're getting some things right and some things wrong. Yeah. It was pretty weird.
Oh, that's the first season.
I guess they're gonna make another season. I read it the other day.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember there was some speculation. It's like, oh, this is it? Are we moving into canceling now?
Well, yeah, because like they cut down the season thing, but that kind of makes sense. Like, if most shows on here are going to be 13 episodes, because these are like almost 2-hour episodes, or I guess an hour and a half. It's like they're doing, 2 shows for every one show they do. So having 6 episodes makes some sense. But yeah, it kind of seemed like they're just kicking it away. But yeah, hopefully they'll keep doing it. I'm not sure how much because I know they did another Kickstarter for this season to some extent. It's because I know Netflix is paying for some of it, so I don't know how much money they needed. But also Netflix seems to have, this can't cost that much to do, and Netflix seems to have an endless supply of money. So
yeah,
the one I really like, it's called Killer Fish.
Okay.
Because it's like a strangely almost competent Jaws ripoff.
Okay.
It's basically it's with piranhas, but like it starts out as like a like almost like a 70s Diabolique bank heist thing going on, where it's like, cool, suave bank heist, and then at some point it turns into Jaws. It's like, do they intend to make this movie the whole time? But it's like almost well done, but like not.
No,
It's clearly a Jaws ripoff, but it's a little more, yeah. But yeah, a little more effort put into it than I thought. Because like immediately you see the movie, it's called Killer Fish. It's like, oh, that's one of these 70s monster flicks. It's gonna be fucking stupid. It's probably filmed in Italy and overdubbed. And it's like, no, it's an American movie that was a Jaws ripoff. It's definitely not as good as Jaws, but it's like still effective filmmaking.
How was The Daytime Ended? Was that a funny one?
Which one was that?
That was it seemed like really esoteric, like a family in the desert has encounters with.
Oh, yeah. That one's fucking weird.
It looked weird.
That looked like that one was like 2 anthology series crammed in together, and it's like it's like, wait, which movie are we watching? And it just happens to have the same cast.
Yeah.
It was really fucking stupid, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. Well, I mean, that's because next on my list I have. I'm looking at the Netflix right now. I have, which was the one I got? Lords of the Deep, and then The Daytime Ended.
Yeah.
And then Killer Fish, and then Ator the Fighting Eagle. That's like the 6 bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
That all came out at once. And then I got a bunch of riff track stuff too. Which I enjoy riff tracks too, because that can get really edgy sometimes, and then they come back. Like, they're a little more.
Well, that's why I like Mike, is that he always seemed to be a bit more angry with his jokes, because that was always
Yeah.
that was always the difference. I thought that was always when you had to choose like either Joel or Mike, I was always a Mike guy because he was just darker. He was also the head writer the whole time, so like. If anybody doesn't like Mike, it's like, do you not realize like he was the head writer the whole time? It's like,
yeah, it's all Mike. Now, why didn't he come back to this one?
Because he was already doing riff tracks.
Oh, he's doing riff tracks. Okay.
So I'm not sure if they seem to like have amicable it's like, hey, you guys are doing your thing, because like. But I don't know, because
I know they said Mike has very different politics from.
Oh yeah, he's like a religious guy. He's ultra conservative now, but I'm not sure if he's ultra conservative. It's just by.
I think the guy said on Mark Maron, he's got very different politics from me, and then I went and looked it up. It's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
But also, they're all from Minnesota, so Minnesota people are weird with their politics. So.
Yeah, they're like Scandinavians and Nazis all at once. Like, we want to be more liberal than Sweden, but for white people.
But yeah, well, he seemed kind of like, I think Mike was trying to be conciliatory and say he didn't want to distract from the new production, but they did have Kevin Murphy and what's the other guy, Bill something.
Bill, yeah, Simmons or something like that.
They reprised their characters of Brain Guy and Bobo for the first season on Netflix. So they came back, but Mike didn't come back and do anything.
Yeah.
But
he is riff tracks, so.
Yeah. I'm not sure where they are. I remember they like started out in Minnesota doing riff tracks, and then they moved to LA, and now I think they've moved out of LA again.
Chicago.
In Chicago? Huh.
Yeah, from what I understand.
Okay.
But I don't know. I watch the riff tracks like very randomly, so I don't, because I'll just pick the one like the Sword and the Sorcerer one. I almost pissed my pants. That was so funny. and then I have the riff tracks where I just I buy the riff tracks from them.
Yeah.
Because me and Grayson will always watch, like, you want to watch Red Dawn again with the the iPod, because I have it playing through the speaker, and I have Red Dawn, so yeah, he loves that scene in the movie where the guy's like, avenge me. That's how I send my kids to school. So morning when Grayson's driving, I'll scream out the window, avenge me. He told me to stop doing that. He's getting more serious as he gets older. He doesn't appreciate the sense of humor.
It's also a great way to watch the Twilight movies because those are not good movies and they make for good riff tracks, though.
That's the only way you could ever get me to watch a Twilight movie. I might have to do that.
There's actually one of the Twilight movies is like it's like, I don't want to say it's good, but it's like well done.
Yeah.
Because it's do you remember that? Was it 28 Days a Night with like the really violent fires in like Alaska and shit?
Oh yeah, yeah. The one in Barrow, Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy who did that did this one Twilight movie that's probably the best Twilight movie. So it's pretty much why it was good, because that guy directed it.
Oh, okay. That's why I like that vampire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you talk about like, oh, vampires, it's like that's what I think of vampires. They're just like wild animals tear you apart for your blood. Isn't Benicio del Toro in that one?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think that's one of those 2007 movies. So, it's 10 years old by now.
Yeah. I just remember that. Oh, I'm old. I became very old at some point. So anyway, we're going back to 1999.
Yep. Because all these movies are going to start being 20 years old. So.
Yeah, that's important, and it's an important time in cinema. What was it? I got to type something. Everyone, hang on. This is riveting podcast.
It's I like going back to this year. There's just a lot of unique movies that came out at this time. Not a whole lot of sequels or remakes.
Yeah.
So of course, the first movie we're gonna do is a remake.
The 1999 John McTiernan's Thomas Crown Affair.
Which is, I think this is one of the only John McTiernan movies I haven't seen, except for that and I think Nomads, which is like his first movie with Pierce Brosnan in it. It was like an indie movie he did before he did Predator.
Right.
Rollerball failed, Then he made Basic, and then he spied on people and got put in jail
For a while.
He went to director's jail and literal jail.
Yeah.
He's probably directing TV commercials now or something.
It's coming back.
Well, if you look at his IMDb stuff, it says like pre-production on things. It's like there's no fucking way anybody's letting him make a movie unless it's like French.
John, I want you to make a movie, but I want you to know I already have an Alexa, so I don't need you to spy on it.
So yeah, the Thomas Crown Affair is what they call it. It's like a rich playboy decides to steal a painting.
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna make an observation about this movie. Something that really stood out. I just watched it today. And it's like I didn't understand why this was an R-rated movie.
At first.
Because I'm watching this is like, oh, this is like an actioner from, this is like a 90s actioner. It's got some cool things going on. It's like, oh, him and Rene Russo, there's some tension there. And I'm watching this movie, and the next thing I see is there's someone fucking someone up the stairs. And there's asses and tits everywhere. I was like, is this why this is an R-rated movie exclusively? Like, because no one was getting killed. No, stuff like that wasn't going on.
There's really not a whole lot of swearing. I think fucks said like 2 times in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is like a weird... It becomes like a softcore porn movie in the middle.
Yeah.
Strangely, unnecessarily.
Yeah.
It was... Because everything... I like this movie. I kind of like the heist element of it, and...
Yeah, there's some cool, like application to the heist that's like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, like we're gonna make the the suitcase is gonna look like the third leg of the chair or the bench, and there's a lot of cool things going on. There's all kinds of deception, and like, did she throw the painting in the fire? And but then and Rene Russo is a weird actress in this. because like she's supposed to be like this hard ass, kind of bare knuckle insurance investigator from a family of people that were, what are they, bounty hunters or something?
I don't know. Oh yeah, her father. Yeah, his father was like some
Twirling
copper.
brass knuckles around and looks like a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Sunglasses, and it seems like the only thing that gets her wet is this guy stealing shit. And the characters have a weird relationship. Like the action, the heist scene, like the double cross heist scene with the guys from Eastern Europe and the security guard in the museum is really cool.
With that
But
with that retractable cattle prod thing.
I want one of those retractable cattle prods. It just knocks people to the ground from 1999. It's like, where do you get that? But yeah, I don't. There's parts of the movie I liked, and there's parts of the movie that were just weird.
Yeah.
And their relationship was weird.
Yeah, it makes me like want to watch the original movie to see like as
Yeah.
if they're going off of that.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Well, because it's just weird because he's like the protagonist and he's the what's the antagonist
yeah,
at the same
yeah,
time. Like you have to root for the guy, but he's the guy doing all the bad shit. So then like you have to root for Rene Russo, but she's kind of an asshole too. But she's working for money, so it's like she's automatically kind of the bad guy because when she wins, like nothing fun happens.
Yeah, because she's like the insurance company.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
So like the only one you can root for is like Timothy Leary, or Tim Leary, right? Or Dennis Leary, not Timothy.
Oh,
Leary.
Dennis Leary. Yeah, I was gonna say like what? We're doing LSD experiments. But yeah, it was a cool movie. It was watchable. It doesn't hold up super well.
Like in
And
what respects?
It's just, well, you can tell it's just set in the 90s. It
I
seems
guess.
like
He pulls out a cell phone. Like, what are we gonna do? It's like I got a cell phone and an airplane.
No, it's not that. It seems like it has kind of that 90s action film.
Well, yeah,
Just
it's Pierce Brosnan and he was Bond at the time, and also a Bond movie came out this same year too.
right. That's right. So yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was James Bond. What was the movie? The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, that's
The one that was coming out.
yeah. I think it's The World Is Not Enough
Yeah.
because he did Goldeneye, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and then Die Another Day. I think that's all of his.
Maybe that was it. Okay, because this is '99, so I was already living in Michigan when this came out.
I believe Die Another Day is the one with Halle Berry, so this is probably World Is Not Enough.
Okay, that's the one with the girl. I don't know. Is that the one with the oil company?
Yeah, it's the one with fucking that one chick plays Christmas Jones, and the joke they use is like he's like, I didn't know Christmas came twice a year or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like the dumbest actress playing a nuclear scientist.
Yeah, it was what's his name's wife?
Charlie Sheen.
Wife, yeah. So yeah, this had a very 80s style, or a very 90s style to it.
Yeah, I mean well, I was trying to pick up on director trademarks that Sean McTiernan, and I don't know if he did anything super like this. I don't know if this never necessarily seemed like, oh yeah, this is a John McTiernan movie, but he does a lot of, one of his kind of features things that he does is close-ups and widescreens. Like he uses widescreen lenses and does close-up with them, so that's kind of stuff he does. And there's certain things he does with movement.
Yeah,
but it's also he's doing a remake, but I haven't seen the original, so I want to check that out to see how much this is compared.
well, the original Steve McQueen's a bank robber.
Yeah.
He just does bits and gigs.
Well, that's one of the things they changed, because in the original it's armed bank robbery, but here it's just kind of, there's no armed art heist. It's just art. It's no weapons are art heist.
Yeah, they're not waving machine guns around. It's not like Heat or something.
It's not Die Hard.
No, this guy's just using his brain and 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 he's folding a Monet in half that's worth $100 million in the special suitcase.
Yeah, that's one thing I picked up on is like, because he like puts it in the suitcase, like, oh, that's clever. And it's like, oh, he's just gonna fucking break that painting in half, and then but then they cut away, and I was like, no, he just broke that painting in half because like now that suitcase is half the size. So like originally he did break it, but they just like cut that out of the movie because they thought people wouldn't like that if he just broke the fucking painting.
Okay.
And he was hoping people wouldn't notice that the suitcase wasn't double the size that it should be to fit the painting without breaking it. But no,
because I thought like, oh, is this a special suitcase that'll keep the 200-year-old oil paints from cracking? No, it's just like a fucking cutaway because it was cool how he ripped it off the wall, pulled the outer frame off, like everything was time, and then he put it in the suitcase and like folded it up and was like, well, that's a wrap for that one.
Just ruined that paint.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw it. I was like, maybe there's something I'm missing here, but
that's something I heard the To Catch a Thief shows. Like if people steal paintings, they usually they'll just like cut it out of the painting, and then roll it up. And then so like that's somehow you could tell if a painting's been stolen is like if it seems to be like missing stuff on the edges because that's where it was being held in by the frame, but they just cut it out.
Cut it out with a knife.
Yeah.
But this, this movie I could tell, like this had a lot of I think the production team from The Hunt for Red October was very involved in this movie. Kind of had that look. That's what I thought of when I saw it. It kind of had techno look. Had a weird soundtrack. They used some.
There's that song that like they use it constantly.
Yeah, it's from the end of Inland Empire, Sinner Man.
Because they use that song. Like I wonder if like is this the first usage of that song? Because that song gets used in fucking commercials and other movies. Like I think they used it in Catch Me If You Can. What's the magician heist movie that?
Catch Me If You Can.
No, it's not Catch Me If You Can. What the fuck's it called? Like Now You See Me or something like that.
Oh, those. Okay, the newer ones. Okay.
Yeah, I think they use that song in it. Yeah, it's like. So I wonder if this is like the first edition.
Famous. Yeah, she's a very famous blues singer. So.
Oh, okay. So that song's been around for a while.
Well, no, but that's a cool song. But then they have this weird trippy techno soundtrack.
Yeah.
It kind of plays. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, it's 99. 99 is probably a bad time for music.
Yeah,
that's the end of grunge music. That's the start of boy groups. You got like a lot of pop coming in. Also, you got some new metal and rap rock is very very big at the time.
So we're gonna run a Casio through a processor and the soundtrack. I mean, it was weird. It was jarring because like especially like the theme when he came on. It's like, this is just annoying. It's like, is this meant to establish something for this character that I'm not getting? I felt like there was a lot of things I wasn't getting in this movie watching it. It's like, it's a good heist movie. It's not as good as my favorite heist movie or one of my favorites, but this is pretty good.
I think it cashes in on charms of the lead, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce Bronson's a sexy guy and fun to watch. And I like his weird, like, pseudo-American / Irish accent all throughout the movie.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. Like, I thought he was just straight up doing. Because what is he, Irish or he's Scottish?
Yeah, he's Irish.
Yeah, I thought he was just doing an Irish accent. I didn't think he was even trying to do an American accent.
Yeah, it seemed to kind of fade. He's one of those guys. Because I always think of him as like Remington Steele, like that.
Yeah.
That was Pierce Bronson when everyone thought he was British, and he seemed to be doing kind of that weird thing he does where he's like his kind of British, kind of American accent. Because Pierce Bronson has an American accent that he's done, and it's terrible. Plays an American, because it's like, oh, that's totally not convincing. Kind of like in the early parts of a different accent, but same kind of. Remember the season 3 of which one is it? Fargo.
Yeah.
When what's his name is the plays the two characters.
Fucking.
What's his name? Why would I bring something up and not know the fucking name?
Yeah, Train Spot. Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor does not do a good American accent the first 3 episodes of Fargo. Then he seems to get it. That's kind of what I thought Pierce Bronson was doing. Is he like, was he gonna be an American, but then just like fuck it halfway through, and it's like I can't do this accent. But then they have some dialogue where he says he's from Ireland, but he's lived here like 20 years or something. So that's because him and Rene Russo are talking. Actually address this in the movie. So. And then is this Dennis Leary's first like serious acting gig where he's not being the cocky smoking comedian type guy?
Well, what would you consider the ref?
Sort of a comedy where he kind of plays himself, a more cynical version of his comedic self.
I mean, yeah, but I think like in that one, he's not necessarily trying to be funny. He's just kind of the way they plays off.
Yeah.
Or he's just like, what the fuck, I have to deal with this shit. I mean, I think like the ref would probably be there, but yeah, that's also the ref is a dark comedy, so kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like, this might be the first time where it's like, yeah, let's use Dennis Leary as a cop.
Yeah, because he's not funny at all in this, really. And
No,
just,
yeah.
Leary,
Yeah, it's just straight up acting, yeah. Just going off his charms. Isn't that the guy from MTV who just ranted a bunch?
Yeah.
This is a no cure for cancer and I'm an asshole guy.
Yeah.
Now he's just a cop.
Fireman. Rescue Me, yeah.
Yeah, Rescue Me.
Now he's like a serious.
Well, like
actor.
before he did Rescue Me, he did a cop show. I can't remember what it was called. It was like The Job.
Okay.
I think it was called The Job. It was like with all the people that worked on Rescue Me, but it was like on ABC. It got canceled like after 8 episodes, and they went on to make Rescue Me. But it's like all the same cast and crew.
Yeah, you're right. The Job. Okay. Because I figured it was like, it seemed to be a lot of TV shows, movies, and then he's not a comedian anymore, and then he's a firefighter. Doesn't Rescue Me been on for like 7 or 8 years now?
Well, not canceled. It had season 5. Yeah, they won. I think it went for 7 seasons.
Oh, okay.
They also had kind of a weird half season because of the writer's strike.
Oh, yeah, that'll always do it to you. But yeah, this is Dennis Leary, like, heading into his post-comedian career.
Yeah, he came back with one, but it wasn't as good as No Cure for Cancer. And you know what? Upon reflection, Cure for Cancer, not really that good.
Wasn't he accused of stealing, like, a bunch of shit from Bill Hicks to do that?
Yeah.
Because I remember they talked about it on Rogan, but I didn't get the whole thing.
Well, it's kind of like he stole his shtick, where it's like, I'm going to get up here, chain smoke, and rant about things, which, that's being a comedian. But
Yeah, I was going to say it's...
I think it's because people knew what Dennis Leary did before he knew about Bill Hicks, and then what he did after, and then like it's completely different. So it's like people kind of like it's like, well, it's obvious theft.
Yeah, I kind of get a thing though, because like Joe Rogan's the only podcast I listen to where they talk about comedy with comedians.
Yeah.
And just looking at it from the outside in and listening to these guys talk, it seems like, well, nobody's a plagiarist until they're successful. Yeah, because Amy Schumer was funny as fuck. Then she's a plagiarist when she's successful. It's like, what, was she plagiarizing before? Well, no, nobody said anything about, oh, now she's plagiarizing everyone. Oh, but she's successful. Okay, well, But that's just me. That's cynical me looking in from the outside.
Well, I don't know. I remember there was stuff with Robin Williams because so much of his sets are just like off the cuff and just out of his head.
Yeah.
And because, he's at comedy clubs listening to comedy routines, and because he's just going off, almost improv at moments, like he accidentally would steal other people's stuff because it just popped in his head. It's like, hey, that would be funny. And it's like, oh, wait, that's another guy's idea. And he would actually pay other comedians for like accidentally stealing their stuff.
Oh, well, okay, that's cool. Yeah, because he's just like super riffing.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm going to take everything I heard in the last 30 minutes and a bunch of cocaine. I'm just going to sit up there and act crazy. So, yeah. But anyway, back to Thomas Crown Affair. And the weird relationship between him and Rene Russo. I mean, I guess I would have to say overall this was an entertaining movie
Yeah.
with some really jarring stuff in it.
Yeah, I did not expect this. Like, oh, you're gonna see Rene Russo's tits in this movie.
A lot. And Bronson's ass and people having sex in a way that really looks like it would cause your back a lot of problems. Because I was watching this movie, it's like, oh, she's gonna slip a disc. What are they doing? It just seemed like they snuck a skin flick in the middle of a movie. Like, again, it was one of those things. It's like, who made this decision and when? Because this
well,
wasn't
yeah, like one thing we'd have to like see the original to see if it like has. I almost doubt the original would have any nudity, but who knows?
No. 68 action film, no, that was successful.
Oh.
Pretty successful movie, as I recall. Because this one was too, but yeah, I don't think they would have that kind of. I mean, the sex scene in this just like took you out of it because I didn't understand when I rented this movie. It's like, why is this R-rated? And until we get to that, it's like, oh, you could have just shown them like screwing behind a silk screen. PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd cut your audience out, but I don't know.
But shit. Just forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
But
Let's talk about how this compares to one of my favorite heist films, The Score, which came out about.
Oh, was it the Robert De Niro one?
Yeah,
I never saw that. Was Edward Norton in that too?
Yeah, Edward Norton, Robert De Niro, and Marlon Brando makes weird appearances in it
Oh yeah, yeah.
because he hated Frank Oz so much. It was basically De Niro directed him because they always call Frank Oz Miss Piggy. Like, I don't want to work with you, puppet fuck. You know, I mean, classic Brando stuff. I think it was Brando's last film too. But yeah, because the score is cool. Number one, it's set in Canada, which kind of makes it weird, and it is a very meticulous example of like, how are we going to break into this and steal this thing in the safe that's unbreakable. It's like, oh, we're going to weld a pipe on the top of it and fill it with water because metal water every time. You can't compress water, you can compress metal. So that's I was thinking a lot of the score when I was watching this movie, but the thing with the score is it's almost like a pure crime movie, where this is like a crime movie about complicated, weird people with really strange sex in the middle, and oh, he's not a bad guy after all because he returned the painting. And, you know, once the fire extinguisher went off, it's like, oh, it never left, but he stole the other painting for his girlfriend. And the original final ending of this movie was the guy shows up with the note, like, here's your painting, and they didn't have the scene on the plane at all.
Huh.
That the studio vetoed that dark ending. They're like, no, they need to meet again so they can go hump each other's brains out on the stairs or whatever they were doing.
Oh, I remember I was thinking, like, so, like, the 90s had a lot of, like Fatal, or Basic Instinct and Fatal, what's the Fatal one? Fatal Attraction. Because I always think of the comedy one was Fatal Instinct. That's with Armando Asante, directed by Rob Reiner.
Yeah, just like a bunch of bunny, was it stuffed bunnies in a big pot screaming or something?
Yeah,
weird shit like that.
But yeah, there's a lot of, like, you know, in the 90s, everyone was like, yeah, we need our quintessential sex scene. We need our Sharon Stone uncrossing her legs scene. There's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
going on.
Yeah, that seemed to be like, and that's fine, I guess. I mean, if that's your thing, but it just is the only part of the movie that like really took me out of the movie. It's like, why is this in here? Come here, honey, look at this. But yeah,
well, that's where they established this. Like, it's almost like they're having sex as like a competition. It's like, I'm gonna catch you. It's like, no, you're not. Let's have sex. And then later on, when they have, like, you know, the cops bring the photos, like, look, he has another girlfriend. Like, you're the side piece. And then she gets really mad. But then it's like, that's a ruse too. It's like, I had to know you care.
Yeah, because the girl they had pictures of him with was like the daughter of the forger.
Yeah.
That forged the other painting, and he was like, because like, I mean, the whole arc to this story is this guy's like some bored millionaire. who wants to do this complicated heist but not really do a heist. And then Rene Russo is like some kind of weird dominatrix that only gets turned on by criminals. I'm sorry. Only gets turned on by criminals or something. I don't understand. I think Rene Russo was miscast in this movie, is what I'm saying. Pierce Brosnan was great. Everyone else was great. Rene Russo's, I know she's a good actress. She acted.
I thought she'd fine. It just seemed like they wanted her to be like too cool.
Well, they wanted her to be cool, and they did it in ways where, like I said, she dressed like a dominatrix. She was wearing sunglasses inside in the middle of the night, and then she seemed like silly, and she would laugh at weird times. Like, it's almost like halfway through the movie she became another character. I didn't get that. It's like, is this supposed to make her more vulnerable, after she had this great stairway sex scene, or what are they trying to do? And
I mean, they didn't have therapist scenes with her to explain her character arc. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan had the best therapist in the world. It's like, I won't reveal any of your crime because you're interested. You always come up with something amazing, and that justifies everything you're doing. Because some people think like attorney-client privilege and patient-doctor privilege to, like, yeah, you can commit crimes that are worth the GDP of a small country, and I won't say anything about it, which is weird, but I guess it's a story element. Yeah, like the movie, like Pierce Brosnan, Rene Russo I think was miscast in this, and then the weird sex in the middle of the movie. It's like, we're gonna get that R rating, which it seemed to me like what. That's why I keep bringing it up. It's like, oh, they just bumped this up to R so they could.
I don't know. Maybe also they wanted somebody age appropriate for Pierce Brosnan, and there wasn't that many like 40-year-old ladies working in Hollywood.
Oh, I mean, he can screw Dr. Goodnight again. So he didn't know Christmas came twice. Yeah. Some of that James Bond stuff. That's the golden age of misogynism. Oh, you're a nuclear scientist? You can do all this stuff? How's your tits and ass? Great. You qualify. Not that there's anything wrong with that, folks. I'm okay with it. But it's just sometimes you got to say what it is.
Yeah. Film's in 99. This isn't representative of it, but it's a John McTiernan film in 1999, which I'm getting.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. I remember everything. It's not like we started this conversation and I only had 3 minutes. I was like, okay, Conlon, go. Like, there was a lot of stuff about this movie that struck me.
Yeah, I like the original heist, and then the trick at the end. Like, I thought that was really fucking neat. It's just like that middle part, and like when they go to that one country and stuff, and like they're flying around.
Yeah.
Like that part's like kind of weird. It's like because it's like they're trying to force this relationship to be like fun or whatever. It's like they're gonna get together and you're gonna enjoy it. It's like, I mean, they should be fighting each other in some way, but no. All right.
Well, the guy who wrote this also wrote Equilibrium and Ultraviolet.
Oh, Kurt Wimmer?
This is a Kurt Wimmer. Yeah, this is
okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, Kurt Wimmer is he always writes about 2/3 of a good script.
Well, and then the
Did you ever see Salt? Salt was terrible, but it was like really exciting in the beginning.
Yeah, Salt was like, it was like 1/3 of a good movie. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Where's the payoff? Oh.
Also, what was that one? Was it Colin Farrell in the CIA movie? That's also like a good third of a movie.
Yeah, I can't remember. Can't think of it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I want to say Spy Game, but that wasn't that one. It was another spy thriller movie. But yeah, Kurt Wimmer, the master of the first act.
Yeah.
Not so much the second or third.
Well, yeah, and the lady who co-wrote this, she was the writer for like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
So it might explain some of this unevenness.
Yeah.
Eclectic writers, and this director that's too, he's
I can imagine Kurt Wimmer like just wrote like the first draft. It he just wrote like basically like roadkill for Pierce Brosnan, just roll over, and then like they're like, no, this lady more cool and like her, carves her own path or whatever, and then that probably why there's a lot of unevenness with it.
Yeah, so basically, like you said, the master of the first act and the ultimate rom-com 90s writer got together, wrote a script, and gave it to the best action director of the 90s. And we get a really weird fucking movie out of that. Yeah, this movie, that's what's weird, because like you said, that middle act, it's like they stomp the accelerator right from the beginning. It's like, what's going on at this museum? Who are these Eastern Europeans and this helicopter? And then like in the middle, we're like, it's like the limpest part of the movie is just all the hard fucking on the island, and then we're getting search warrants, and Dennis Leary's like, we know what you're doing, and everyone, it's like, oh, he's gonna get caught, and then, no, he isn't. And
I like when they steal the painting from him, and then it turns out to be a fake with the dogs playing poker underneath it.
Yeah, the tackiest painting ever is because they use the watercolors that wash off. There's some cool elements to it. I was expecting something more like The Heist, and I didn't get it.
Yeah,
but it was still cool because it's basically a guy in a $5,000 suit moving quick. Movie, it's like, we're gonna slide something under the thing, we're gonna roll under the bars, and
well, yeah, what assisted that was like, the 20 minutes after that where they're like, well, how'd this happen? They go through it all, and they're like, oh, we got thermal cameras, and I guess John McTiernan, like, they use that as like a specific point, because when he was shooting Predator, it's like, if it got 90 degrees, these cameras were just pure white. They didn't record fucking anything.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, somehow they raised the temperature in the room to where you can't,
It couldn't detect a 10-degree difference, so like once it got 10 degrees higher, it just became all white. The camera.
Oh, okay.
That's why because they didn't do anything special. Yeah, because they fuck with the. I can't remember they were saying something that maybe the suitcase had a heater in it, and that's what isolated that specific area to be just all white on the recording. But I can't.
Yeah,
remember.
I'm not sure,
because they also fucked with the air conditioner. The Eastern European guys.
Yeah, there was something going on with those guys, and then it's kind of like the Monet being folded in half. It was almost like, oh, this is style over substance. Like, why did that happen? Well, the thing, and maybe gave off heat, and then on to the next scene. Not the meticulousness of The Heist, but it's fun to watch.
Like the suitcase, it's just like a honeycomb of titanium that keeps that door up.
Yeah, I did like the legs under the. Yeah, that was like, oh, that's fucking epic. If only you could have written a story kind of that followed all that.
But yeah,
some people don't like procedurals, though. I do, but some people don't.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and watch the original to see how much this draws from. See if any of the weirdness is pulled from that movie, or if it's just the weirdness they created by accident.
I would be willing to bet when I went and looked up the writers and because it's something I usually don't do, but when a movie strikes me as being really having like a yo-yo effect in its story arc, it's like, okay, who wrote this, or how many people? They have 50 fucking writers on this and just pasted it all together. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet the original one probably didn't have this eclectic group of writers.
But there's always been a movie where, like, I talk about, I was like, I meant to watch that movie, and they're like, oh yeah, I like that movie, and that's kind of what this movie is like. You go, oh yeah, I like that movie, and then you forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't gonna stick with you a long time unless you have a long staircase in your house and a horny girlfriend. It's really gonna do a lot for you. Oh. So anyway, Thomas Crown Affair. Check it out. Remember everything we've said, and just tell us if we're full of shit or not. You can reach us at 1-800-FUCK-YOU. Did you have anything else to add about the Thomas Crown
No.
Affair? Yeah, it was kind of fun. It was goofy fun. I thought it was going to be more straightforward than it was. It turned out to be weirder than I thought, but not in a good way, but still an entertaining way.
Yeah, it's entertaining. I don't know. Yeah, didn't add anything to the John McTiernan pantheon, and I don't know. I'd have to go back and I have to go back and watch Last Action Hero because I remember like the last thing I thought about that movie was it was just really stupid and I didn't like it. But there's been like a kind of a confluence of people talking about how great that movie is now
Yeah.
because I guess a lot of its kind of commentary and action movies has rolled forward very well. But I think it's still a very stupid movie. But I don't know. I'll have to watch it again.
I think people just like Charles Dance now that he was on Game of Thrones. For so long. All right. Well, do we have anything else for tonight?
Nope. Oh,
think it's
I watched Westworld,
Oh, which ones? Which
the
season?
original movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've been doing the
Michael
The
Crichton directed movie.
Crichton Criterion. Yeah, your own personal Crichton Criterion.
Well, also because Yul Brynner was in the Magnificent Seven, so he was also the Man in Black in this one, in
Yeah.
Westworld. Which those movies are like fucking 12 years apart, and Yul Brynner still looks pretty much exactly the same. So it's like good on him.
Yeah, well, he was dying in the last one,
Oh, okay.
like, actively.
Yeah, it was all right. It's man, that TV show really that's some blood from stone because there's not really a whole lot going on in Westworld. Like,
no.
It's pretty much just theme park goes wrong, which Michael Crichton does that again with Jurassic Park, which I'll have to read the book sometime to see how much that compares. I always like how he kind of like because he was a medical student at some point.
right.
Like he never became a doctor or even practicing anything, or not practicing, but like a student or anything like that. Or he never got his doctorate, right? So
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure how he switched, but yeah, he knew a lot about that shit. And like the one thing he always has in movies is like the medical review board or a version of it which is always because it's a real thing and it's a great way to like, here's the setup, here's the people involved, here's what's happened, what do we think? And so like he has it almost all his movies, and it happens here again with those guys like trapped in like the computer room or whatever. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of a weird movie, but it's pretty much just like a theme park goes wrong. There's somewhat of a gesture at moral quandaries, but not really. The Man in Black doesn't really have any motivations whatsoever. He's just completing his co-programming pretty much. There's not really even a final reason why the park just went bad. It just went bad.
Yeah, there wasn't really like a it didn't have like the what would you say? It didn't have like the story, like the understory of like the moral realities of just like we're gonna create these things and we're gonna murder them. It wasn't as hard as the Westworld TV show either. It didn't really show like a lot of sex. It was just a lot of violence.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of like, hey, shoot that guy because it's fun and you're playing that role. And Michael Crichton graduated from Harvard Medical School and started his what do they call that? His internship or whatever.
Is that residency?
Residency, yeah. And he hated the culture of medicine so much he never got a license to practice medicine. Just became a writer.
Okay.
So he actually went through 12 years of medical school and decided to write books.
Well, I think like when you do that much fucking studying, that's probably why he's so good and why all his stuff is filled with really good technical information, because he just knows how to study very quickly and lots of shit.
Yeah. Well, he's also someone who wasn't afraid of criticism, because when he wrote, what was the book he wrote about the virus from the
Andromeda Strain.
Yeah. He actually like went and they screened that movie or whatever, and he pretended to be someone who was just like a production assistant or whatever, and went and talked to real pathologists or whatever, viral pathologists or whatever, and he was listening to all the things they thought were the book. He was listening to all the things they thought were wrong in the book, and then when we did the movie, that's where a lot of those ideas came from. Was like, oh, we're gonna have this weird laboratory and we're gonna do all this shit. It was because he was not afraid to have people criticize, his rough drafts and stuff. But he would pretend not to be the author, He'd be like stuff people to read. Like, what do you think of this? I'm working for some publishing company, and like he did that a lot with the geneticists in Jurassic Park. He's like, how fucked up are my ideas? But he didn't say who he was. He acted like he was a production assistant or whatever. Because sometimes if it's actually the author, everyone will be like, "Oh no, it's great, it's cool."
Yeah.
Some people don't like that, but if it's just some guy, it's like, you tell that guy all this up. And he was fine with that kind of criticism. So yeah, he's someone who learned to like have a very thick skin when it came to that, because he wanted to get things right. I believe.
Yeah.
Died suddenly.
I'll come back next week and I'll talk about Runaway because I watched that as well.
Oh, okay. That's a cool one. That was one of my favorite sci-fi movies of the 80s.
Huh.
Maybe it's because Magnum P.I. was on it, but
Yeah. Was the show on at the same time?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just know I knew him from that, and it's like, hey, look, the guy from Kiss is a bad guy.
Yeah.
He has a weird rocket gun.
I like that. I guess it's like sounds like one of his last movies. They did one more after that. But I guess he talked about because they did that in Canada, and he said that was the best shoot he ever had. That was the best crew he ever worked with. Because he said he worked in London and America. Duchovny's going to be a movie star.
See how that panned out. Which is weird because he was actually pretty good actor. But
Yeah. I don't know, like what was he did the X-Files movie, and there's that one with California with a K where like Brad Pitt's in it. That's a weird movie.
yeah, that's a strange one.
And then there's that one where he's like the mob doctor.
Yeah.
Which that movie's again strange, not really good. And I don't know what he did after that. And then eventually he just came back to the X-Files. And now he did TV again. He did that Showtime show where he's the writer. And then he did that fucking what was it, like Aquarius or something like that? It was
it was the cop in the 60s trying to solve the murders.
Was it Zodiac Killer?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. No, not what he's doing now. I think he has another TV show.
Yeah, he did a lot of weird movies. I think he was in Zoolander. He did a movie called Queer Duck the Movie. Animated thing. He played Tiny Jesus in that one.
Oh yeah, I guess they came back for the X-Files, the new seasons of the X-Files. I didn't even I watched the first episode of the first new season and I never watched the rest of it, and I haven't even bothered to watch the second season of the new one.
I have them all on my DVR and I've never watched them. Remember he did Phantom? That was a weird one.
Which one was that?
He was a KGB agent on a Soviet submarine. Ed Harris was the captain.
Oh.
And they had a way to make the submarine disappear, and they were going to fire a nuclear missile at Pearl Harbor, but they were going to make it look like a Chinese did it. And then in the end, it's like they were all dead, and they always were, and shit ever had. It was like a cool concept, and then it just got stupid.
Evolution. That was one of my most fucking hated movies. Because I was like it was like the Ghostbusters team are doing a movie together. It's like a really good cast, and you go watch it. It's like, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it was like a wacky comedy.
Yeah, it's really fucking stupid.
I still think he should go back. What did he play on Twin Peaks?
Oh, he was the yeah, they brought him back from the new one. He was the transgendered FBI agent.
That's right. Yeah, I remember he did that.
Because I think that was the thing where I was watching the new season. He showed up, and I was like, "What the fuck's up with this?"
Why is David Duchovny in a dress?
Yeah. And then I went and rewatched the original Twin Peaks, and it's like, oh, this is a returning character. And it's like, ah,
Yeah, it was a man the last time.
no, he was trans. Well, he's pre-op then, if that was even a thing.
Cross dresser then. Or
Yeah,
something,
pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, David Duchovny. What happened to you? Oh God, he's almost 60. Shit, I feel old. All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin. Goodbye, America.